The night your soul feels crushed and God's renewal awaits. The night comes quietly, yet your heart feels the weight of every burden you've carried. Thoughts spin relentlessly, memories of mistakes, unfulfilled responsibilities, and the exhaustion of endless struggles press upon your spirit. It seems as if no one sees, no one understands, and sleep itself has betrayed you. But tonight is different. Tonight, God's presence surrounds you, even as the world sleeps. And Psalm 91 becomes more than words. It is the divine instrument of renewal for your overburdened soul. Urgency pierces the silence. The longer you carry this weight without surrender, the deeper it digs, shaping your nights with tension and your days with weariness. Scarcity reminds you. Few recognize the immediate opportunity to invite divine renewal before fatigue transforms into despair. Plot twist. What you feel as relentless pressure is not the world's weight alone. It is a spiritual invitation to release, restore, and renew through God's authority. Moses understood these nights intimately. Even as a leader, even under immense responsibility, he faced moments when invisible burdens pressed upon him. But he also experienced divine renewal that transformed heaviness into purpose. Tonight, the introduction is your call to awareness. Your exhaustion, your mental unrest, your overburdened soul as signals, not signs of failure. Psalm 91 is the blueprint to align your heart, activate God's protection, and experience the peace that can only come from the Creator. Fear, anxiety, and hidden pressures are neutralized when your soul recognizes that renewal is available, not someday, but now, tonight. This is the moment where your overburdened heart can meet God's promise, your restless mind can embrace divine authority, and your weary spirit can be restored. Emotional hook at the end. Tonight, you will discover why your burdens are not the end of your story, and how God's renewal, already at work, can lift every weight pressing on your soul. Why burdens grow stronger at night exposes what the day conceals. The busyness of sunlight, conversations, and obligations masks the weight pressing on your soul. But when the world quiets, your burdens emerge as loud, undeniable pressures. Moses knew this intimately. Even the strongest leaders, under the guidance of God, felt the unseen chains tighten during the night, moments when responsibilities, fears, and unresolved struggles amplified in the stillness. Psalm 91 reminds us that the darkness is not neutral. It is a spiritual battlefield, a space where your overburdened soul is tested and prepared for renewal. Urgency demands your awareness. The longer these burdens linger without divine intervention, the more they shape your thoughts, distort your perspective, and influence your emotional health. Scarcity triggers action. Few understand that night is the critical window to invite God's renewal and protection before stress solidifies into despair. Authority reminds you, these pressures exist not to destroy, but to guide you into dependence on God's strength. What feels overwhelming is, in fact, an opportunity. Fear subtly whispers, "You cannot handle this alone." Anxiety intensifies as you replay mistakes, obligations, and unmet expectations. But the plot twist lies in recognition. The enemy thrives on unawareness, on silent acceptance of pressure. Once you awaken to the spiritual reality, once you consciously align with God's authority, these burdens lose their power. Moses confronted such nights with prayer and reliance on God, transforming what could have crushed him into moments of divine fortification. Psalm 91 is not just a shield, it is a blueprint for handling the night, a guide to understanding that every burden, every hidden pressure can be met with God's protective and restorative power. Pain is temporary when aligned with divine authority, and the overburdened soul can find both relief and renewal. Tonight you are called to discern, to awaken, and to let God's presence interrupt the pattern of heaviness that seeks to dominate your nights. Plot twist. The darkness that magnifies your burdens is the same darkness where God's renewal begins. Your night does not define you, your alignment with His protection does. How silent pressures test your faith. Some of the heaviest burdens are the ones no one sees. They are silent, unseen, yet they press on the soul with unrelenting force. Anxiety that arises without apparent reason, tension that tightens across the chest, and restless thoughts that prevent sleep. These are not coincidences. Moses understood these moments as tests of faith, opportunities where reliance on God's unseen presence determined spiritual resilience. Psalm 91 becomes more than words. It is an instrument to confront the invisible, a framework to recognize the quiet strategies that try to steal your peace. Urgency is critical. Each silent pressure left unchecked deepens fatigue, magnifies doubt, and fosters despair. Scarcity reminds you, few truly learn to discern these unseen attacks and respond with spiritual authority before exhaustion consumes them. Authority manifests when faith is activated in response, not passively endured. What feels like random stress is often a spiritual signal prompting you to lift your eyes, speak God's promises, and align your heart with His protection. Fear whispers subtly in these moments. Perhaps this pressure will never end. The mind spirals into imagining consequences, replaying past mistakes, or anticipating future failures. But the plot twist emerges as you recognize these pressures are not evidence of abandonment. They are invitations to trust. Moses faced similar nights, silent yet intense, where God's guidance became the only anchor. By invoking divine authority through prayer and declaration, the overburdened soul can transform tension into clarity, fear into obedience, and restless thought into focused trust. Psalm 91 teaches that protection, rest, and renewal are not found in ignorance of the attack, but in confronting it with divine alignment. The silent pressures do not disappear on their own. They dissolve when your faith rises to meet them. The enemy aims to obscure God's presence, but faith illuminates every shadow. Tonight, you are called to recognize these silent tests, respond with intentional prayer, and embrace the renewal already at work. Plot twist. What felt like invisible weight is, in truth, the proving ground for your alignment with God's power. Each pressure confronted with faith becomes a building block for resilience, peace, and restoration. When burdens turn into unseen chains, the pressures of life, left unresolved, have a tendency to transform. What begins as worry, anxiety, or overexertion can solidify into invisible chains that bind the spirit. These chains tighten in the silence of night, unseen yet palpable, pressing against the mind, the heart, and the body. Moses understood this dynamic intimately. Even as a leader under God's guidance, he faced unseen burdens that threatened to immobilize him spiritually. Psalm 91 offers guidance on how to break these chains, emphasizing awareness, declaration, and reliance on divine authority as the path to freedom. Urgency strikes. The longer these chains remain unrecognized, the stronger they grow, extending their influence over decisions, emotions, and relationships. Scarcity highlights the importance of immediate action. Few realize that the night can be a pivotal moment to release spiritual bondage before it takes root. Authority reminds you, these chains exist not to punish, but to signal the need for alignment with God's protective power. The enemy thrives in passivity, feeding on hesitation and fear. The moment you recognize the chains and confront them with God's authority, their grip begins to weaken. Fear whispers insidiously, convincing the soul that rest is impossible and peace unattainable. Anxiety magnifies minor troubles into mountains, replaying failures and magnifying guilt. The plot twist is divine. The same chains that oppress can become markers of opportunity when met with faith, prayer, and intentional declaration. Moses faced such nights with recognition of God's presence. transforming invisible constraints into platforms for spiritual growth and renewal. Psalm 91 emphasizes that protection and liberation are not passive. They require active engagement with God's authority. Speaking God's promises, declaring His protection, and acknowledging His presence in every moment turns the night from a place of oppression to a sanctuary of restoration. Every unseen chain broken by faith transforms burdens into lessons, fears into trust, and weariness into renewal. Tonight, the invisible chains that held you are ready to fall, not by human effort alone, but by invoking the divine authority that God has provided. Declaring God's power and activating protection. Breaking unseen chains and lifting the weight of overburdened souls requires more than awareness. It requires active declaration. Psalm 91 is not merely a promise to read silently. It is a tool to speak, claim, and enforce divine protection over your life, your mind, and your family. Moses modeled this, speaking boldly in faith, knowing that words aligned with God's will have the power to dismantle spiritual oppression before it manifests fully. Every whispered prayer and intentional declaration is a barrier erected against the unseen attacks that seek to steal your peace. Urgency cannot be overstated. Nightfall is when pressures intensify, when fear attempts to dominate, and when silence allows the enemy to act unchecked. Scarcity reminds you, few take the step to actively speak God's promises before sleep. This is a moment reserved for those willing to engage with divine authority, transforming passive vulnerability into empowered vigilance. Authority is yours when faith is verbalized. Each spoken word carries spiritual weight, capable of reversing attacks before they take hold. Fear and doubt whisper that words are powerless, that you are too weak, or that unseen forces are too strong. The plot twist. Spoken faith disrupts every scheme designed to oppress. Your declaration invokes God's shield over your mind, body, and home, converting anxiety into confidence, pressure into peace, and restlessness into divine alignment. Moses knew that the night could not hold him captive. His spoken faith aligned with God's promise to protect and renew. Write a prophetic phrase aloud, claiming God's authority and shielding your soul tonight. Use words such as, "Tonight I place my mind, my home, and my family under the protection of the Lord Almighty." Feel the weight lift as you verbalize trust and activate the power of God's shield. Psalm 91 ensures that protection is not passive. By intentionally declaring God's power, the overburdened soul becomes renewed, and the night transforms from a space of oppression into a sanctuary of divine security. Plot twist. What once felt unavoidable, heavy, and oppressive, burdens, fear, and unseen attacks, loses all authority when confronted with a faith that speaks God's promises aloud. Rest, renewal, and divine peace. Peace and renewal are not found in human effort alone. They come when the soul aligns with God's protection and authority. Psalm 91 completes the journey. Awareness of invisible pressures, intentional declaration of God's promises, and activation of divine protection culminate in rest that transcends physical fatigue. Moses experienced nights of relentless burden, yet he rested fully secure only after invoking God's shield over every unseen attack. Tonight, the same promise is available to your overburdened soul. Urgency remains, even in this moment of reflection. The night continues to press, but your alignment with God interrupts fear, doubt, and weariness. Scarcity reminds you that few seize the opportunity to claim divine protection in advance, and those who do are granted deep renewal. Authority rests in spoken faith and conscious surrender, which allows peace to penetrate where anxiety once ruled. Every whispered prayer, every declaration, every acknowledgement of God's presence reshapes the spiritual atmosphere, dissolving the invisible chains that held you captive. Fear and exhaustion may still whisper that rest is impossible, that burdens are too heavy, that renewal is out of reach. The plot twist, God's power, activated through faith, shatters these lies. Each chain broken restores clarity, lifts heaviness, and anchors the soul in unshakable peace. Moses modeled this by trusting God fully, even when circumstances seemed unrelenting, and experiencing rest and renewal as a direct outcome of reliance on divine authority. Like and subscribe to help spread this message, ensuring more souls discover God's protective and restorative power. Finally, invite your heart and family to pray the Lord's Prayer, sealing the protection and inviting divine renewal into your life tonight. Feel the night transform, invisible pressures dissipate, overburdened souls are lifted, and peace settles deeply into your spirit. Closing impact. Tonight, your soul rests fully under God's shield. Renewal flows, invisible chains are broken, and divine peace reigns in every corner of your life.